I want to move on and talk about how to improve the interview process. One of the key things that I learned with hiring people was that you post a job and you have all these resumes, and it takes so much time to go through these resumes to find the good people that you spend a lot of time, and then you often end up hiring the wrong person, and then either they don't work out and you waste time training them, or they don't stay long enough. So what I found through trial and error was that it's really critical to select and hire the right people. And I'm going to show you a process here to automate the interview process. And by automating it, not only do you reduce the time you spend interviewing, but you improve your ability to hire the right person. So let me show you how this works. Here is our automated interview process. Step one is to set up a voicemail box that's dedicated for interviewing. So this is a voicemail box on a phone line that's not being used for any other purpose. One place that you might get this phone line, or reason you might get a new phone line for this, is that if you're going to have someone doing your cold calling, you likely might need to provide them with a phone and phone line. So you could just use the phone line for the person that you're hiring for this automated interview. But you basically set up a voicemail box for the interview. Then you post your job posting on those places that I just showed you. When you do that, you're going to receive a lot of responses from applicants. So like if I posted a job on Craigslist, I might get between 50 to 100 resumes or responses via email. Now, when you get those responses, just every time you get a response, I want you to copy and reply to every response with every email with the same email response. And I'm going to show you what that is here next. This is, you could copy this. I'll provide these slides in the link of this video. But here's an example of the email. You just copy and paste this and send this to everybody, which is, thank you for applying. The first step in our process is for you to call this number and to answer these 3 questions. And you basically put 3 questions here. And then you're explaining this is an automated process. And once we listen to your interview, we'll call you back, more or less. That's what it says here. Now, the questions you put here, you can customize to your situation. I will tell you, it really doesn't matter what questions you put here, because when you're hiring someone for a work-at-home cold call position, at this point, you're mostly wanting to hear what they sound like, because in cold calling, how someone sounds in terms of their voice and their energy is critical. That's very important to who you hire. You want them to basically sound good. At this point, you also want them to be able to follow your instructions. Part of what you're doing here is you're trying to filter out those that can't follow this simple instruction. The questions you might ask is, are you working today? What are you looking to do? This is the position, whatever. It really doesn't matter, but I'll provide some sample questions for you to ask. But once you shoot that email off, so let's say you get 100 responses to your job posting, then you're going to send off, don't even look at the email. Whatever the email says, you copy that email response and send that off. Then you're going to basically get voicemail messages left by some of those applicants, and then you schedule interviews from those voicemail messages. Now, this is going to help you tremendously. Let me show you how big of a difference this will help you in terms of saving you time and helping you to hire the right people. So with the traditional approach, you'd get 100 resumes to your job posting. What you have to do then is flip through those resumes and try to figure out who to call. With our approach, you're going to get 100 those same responses, and then you're going to shoot out that automated email response to all of those. Now, I'm going to tell you, and this is from my own experience, only about 30% of the people are going to actually follow that instruction. So let's say you send out 100 emails, you're only going to get 30 people that call your voicemail box, and then only about 50% of the people that call are actually going to leave voicemail messages. So at this point, you've gone from 100 down to 15, and you can very quickly listen to all of those voicemail messages and quickly hear their sound, their voice, and make a decision on who you want to talk to. Now, the great thing here is that not only can you make a decision real quickly from their voice, but the bigger thing is that you filtered down from 100 to 15, because the people that did not call, you don't even want to look at their resume. You don't even want to talk to them because they weren't able to follow that instruction. If someone's not able to follow your instruction from thanks for applying, call this number and answer these questions, then that's somebody that you don't want to hire. So you're doing some really good filtering here. From the 15, you can probably find like between 5 to 8 people that you want to talk to, and then you can pursue them. So this will greatly save you time and help you to hire the right people. Now, as you're listening to these voicemails that you do get, what I would do is I would start to do applicant scoring. And this is basically filling out a spreadsheet with the name and their information of the people that you're listening to. And you want to make some notes. Okay, they sounded good, didn't sound great, or had good experience. And what I started to do was I started to use a point system to numerically score how they sound, what they're qualified they are for the position, and make some notes here. So this is where I started to score the applicants. So instead of trying to remember, oh, I like this person or I like that person, I would start to look at the scores and make my decisions on who to hire based on the score. Now, this is actually a table that I used with all the interviews that I did. I want you to notice one column here, which was internet. Now, if you're hiring a work-at-home person, one thing that you might not think about asking about or making sure they have is good, high-quality internet speed. For example, I ended up hiring someone and put them through all this training, and I think could have been a great employee, but they ended up not having good quality internet. So I spent all this time training this person, and then they didn't have good quality internet. It couldn't work for them to be a work-at-home person doing calls and using CRM and voice over IP phone system because they didn't have good internet. And I wasted all this time. And I bring you up that example there because an example of a fail on my part, trial and error, where I figured out, you know what, I made a mistake here and I wasted a bunch of time. And one of the reasons why I made that mistake is I didn't ask the right question when I was talking to them, because the problem was that they did not have internet, and I did not ask them, how do you have high-speed internet? I realized, well, I should have asked the question of, do you have high-speed internet? So what I learned through this was that it's critical that when you're interviewing, in order to hire the right people, you need to ask very specific questions for each of the key things you need that person to have in order for them to be successful and for them to perform. And so if I need someone to have internet, I need to ask a question about that. And then I started to realize, well, what are the key things that I need a work-at-home cold caller to have, or the experience to have, or the personality traits to have, in order for this person to most likely be the right person for me to hire? Well, I'd like for them to have a good work office environment in their so I might need to ask them, tell me about your workspace. You have a table to work on? Do you have dedicated workspace? I need to know, are they able to make cold calls? Not necessarily do they have experience making cold calls, but how do you feel when it's time to pick up the phone and make a cold call or call someone that isn't expecting your call? Are they able to learn new processes? I'm going to teach someone a lot of different tips and tactics. Tell me about a process you had to learn in the past. So I started to learn that it's not about just what are your strengths or what's your biggest weakness or where do you see yourself in 5 years, but if I make a list of the key characteristics of what the best person for the role that I'm hiring, then for each characteristic, there is a corresponding question that I need to ask. And if I ask each question, then I can score each person that I interview how their answer was for each question, and then I could hire the person that basically has the highest score. And so this is how I started to take applicant scoring to the next level. By the way, everything I'm showing you here today, you can apply to either hiring cold callers, but you could also apply this to just hiring anybody as well. And also, a lot of what I'm going to show you here today, we've built tools for, and I'm going to show you these tools inside of SalesScripter. And so I'm showing you these because just to either let you know that there's tools for these already created in SalesScripter, but also I'm going to show you these because this might give you ideas for tools that you could use on your own or whatnot. But I just told you of how I learned that, well, in order to ask the right interview questions, I need to start with what am I looking for? Well, we actually created a tool in SalesScripter called the Interview Builder, which you'll see identify requirements. And so we actually built a database of all the different personality requirements, skill requirements, financial requirements, education requirements, experience requirements, availability requirements. Each of these has characteristics that you might look for. Now, these may give you ideas of what you might want to look for in a person. You might have an idea. These might help you to build your job posting, job description of who you're wanting to hire. But the key thing here is that in SalesScripter, for each of these, and you just drag and drop and build the profile of the type of person that you're wanting to hire. And then when you move to the next step, for each characteristic that you selected, we've actually written a few questions. So if you want someone's strong work ethic, then here are a few questions to ask, and you can drag and drop and build out the list of optimum interview questions for the profile of the individual that you're looking to hire. you may say, well, that's neat, or it could be a time saver for you, or it could help you to be a better interviewer. But one of the real benefits to having this inside of SalesScripter is that we display, if you're using SalesScripter and you want to pull up your interview questions for a particular position, we display all of those different questions inside the tool, and you can score here real easily, on a scale of 3 to -3, how good or bad that applicant answered each question. So this makes it real easy for you to create your scoring as you're talking to people, and you can make notes if you want. But what that does is that feeds all of your applicants and their scores into this tool here called Applicant Ranker, which basically ranks from a numerical standpoint all of the people you're interviewing. So instead of just interviewing a bunch of people and then saying, oh, that the person you talked to at the end, is more freshest in your mind, so that's the person you hire, or you just had a really good feeling about this one person, this allows you to really get a numerical view as to how each applicant stacks up. And this can improve your ability to hire the right person. And by hiring the right person, you can decrease turnover, and that can save you time wasted on having to rehire and train the same person over again.